This is Global Currency Insight, and today we need to talk about something that caught the attention of viewers all over the world. In the past 24 hours, television screens in multiple countries showed something so unusual that people immediately started recording it on their phones and sharing it online. What viewers saw was the Iraqi dinar listed on financial channels with an exchange rate that looked nothing like the normal numbers. For years, the dinar has traded at a relatively stable level, hovering around 1,300 dinars for $1. But on these broadcasts, the numbers were completely different, as though the currency had suddenly jumped in value. This unexpected appearance spread like wildfire across social media, with investors and groups that have been holding onto dinars for a long time claiming that this might finally be the event they had been waiting for since the early 2000s. The reason this incident grabbed so much attention is because many people have been following the dinar story for years, hoping for signs that its value might change dramatically. When the unusual rate appeared on television, those hopes came alive almost instantly. Messages began filling online chat rooms and community boards, with people writing things like, "It's happening," and "The time has come." But in situations like this, it's important to pause and look at what really happened instead of jumping straight to conclusions. Television data systems, especially the automated ones used on financial channels, sometimes display incorrect numbers. This has been seen before with other currencies, commodities, and even stocks. A sudden display like this doesn't always mean an actual change has taken place. To understand this better, it's useful to look at how financial information appears on TV in the first place. Networks don't calculate the numbers themselves. Instead, they rely on feeds that come from outside data providers. These feeds are massive pipelines that carry information about exchange rates, market prices, and other financial updates. But like any system that moves huge amounts of data every second, errors can slip through. Sometimes it's a technical glitch, sometimes it's test information accidentally going live, and other times it's a simple entry mistake. Viewers at home only see the end result, which looks like breaking news, but behind the scenes it might just be a temporary error that gets corrected within minutes. There have been other examples of this happening in the past. A few years ago, financial networks displayed an exchange rate for the British pound that simply wasn't possible, and it caused a short burst of confusion before the numbers were fixed. In another case, gold prices appeared incorrectly on major networks, leading people to believe something big had happened in the precious metals market. Even major stock tickers have briefly shown wrong numbers before being corrected. Each time, the story wasn't that the world's markets had suddenly changed in dramatic fashion, but that a mistake had slipped through in the data feed. This is why it's so important not to rely on one display or one momentary screenshot when thinking about events in global finance. Now, let's look at why some people believe the display could have been something more than a glitch. Iraq has been working on different kinds of economic reforms for years. The country has seen improvements in certain areas such as oil revenues, which form a huge part of its national income. There have also been discussions within Iraq about making adjustments to the way its currency is managed, including talk about removing zeros from its notes. These kinds of ideas are sometimes seen as signals that one day the currency might strengthen. For people who already hold dinars, any unusual movement or display of exchange rates seems like a clue that change is on the horizon. But when we take a closer look, the evidence points strongly toward this being nothing more than a display error. No official announcements were released by Iraq's central banking authorities. Government websites still show the same exchange rate they've maintained in recent months. International banks did not suddenly switch their currency tables. And if a real revaluation were underway, global trading platforms would show activity around the dinar, but there was no unusual movement recorded. In addition, large news organizations that closely watch currency changes reported no updates at all about the dinar. This silence is important because real currency shifts never happen in secret or without proper announcements. To understand why, consider how official currency changes normally work. When a country decides to alter its exchange rate, it follows a very specific process. The government announces it publicly, explains why it is happening, and lays out the details. Financial institutions are notified well in advance so they can update their systems. In some cases, new currency notes are designed and released with updated features. Citizens are given clear instructions about how the change will work. International organizations are often informed, and global banks prepare for the adjustment. These steps are necessary because changing a currency's value is not just a small decision. It affects trade, banking, contracts, and millions of everyday transactions. None of these things happened with Iraq this week. This incident also highlights the larger story of why people are so interested in the Iraqi dinar in the first place. After the early 2000s, many speculators began buying dinars, hoping that one day the currency would regain the strength it once had decades ago. Before years of conflict and sanctions, the old version of the dinar was worth several dollars. But the reality is that the current dinar, introduced after 2003, is a completely new system separate from the currency Iraq used before. That means comparing today's dinar to its value in the past doesn't really line up. Even so, the dream of a sudden rise in value has attracted many investors over the years. Speculative currency investing carries its own risks, and the dinar is often used as an example of that. Iraq has certainly made progress, but the country still faces many challenges. Political division, security issues, and infrastructure needs remain part of daily life. These factors directly affect the strength and stability of its currency. For a country to see its money suddenly increase in value, there usually needs to be a combination of stability, strong growth, and clear government policy. Without these elements, a sudden revaluation becomes highly unlikely. This is why experts often describe these investments as highly speculative. For those holding dinars today, what happened on television might have felt like confirmation that change is near. But the reality is that single incidents like this don't provide proof of anything official. A TV display can create excitement, but it doesn't rewrite economic fundamentals. The same is true in reverse. If a mistaken display showed the dinar at zero value, it wouldn't mean the currency had collapsed overnight. Data feed mistakes are just that, mistakes. What matters is whether the government and official financial institutions actually make announcements, and in this case, they did not. Another layer to this story is how quickly rumors can spread in the digital age. A single screenshot from a television broadcast can travel across social media platforms within minutes, reaching thousands of people before anyone has time to verify the details. In the case of the dinar, communities that already believe in the possibility of a sudden rise in value were quick to embrace the screenshots as evidence. But the speed of sharing doesn't change the reality of what happened. The faster information moves, the more important it becomes to separate genuine news from errors or rumors. It is also worth remembering that real economic changes never need secrecy or hidden signals. When a government makes a move as big as revaluing its currency, the public has to be informed. Banks, businesses, and even ordinary citizens all need to understand what's happening because it affects how they handle money every day. That is why real changes come with detailed instructions, press conferences, and weeks of preparation. If none of that has happened, then it is safe to say that what appeared on screen was not part of an official rollout. Looking back, the most important lesson from yesterday's incident is the reminder that not every surprising number on television reflects reality. Financial data systems are complex and errors sometimes slip through. For most people watching at home, the distinction between a glitch and actual news isn't always clear in the moment, which is why confusion spreads so quickly. But history has shown us again and again that display errors happen, and they don't usually mean anything deeper. The Iraqi dinar display fits that same pattern. So, for everyone who saw those numbers flash across their screen, the key takeaway is simple. This was a broadcast mystery that created excitement, but it was not supported by any official confirmation or evidence of change. Iraq's currency remains at the same level it has been in recent months, and the usual procedures for revaluation have not taken place. What we witnessed was a reminder of how quickly data feed errors can fuel speculation, and how important it is to stay grounded in facts when watching the markets. That is the full picture of what really happened on television screens yesterday. The story spread quickly, the excitement was real, but the numbers themselves do not point to any official move. This is one more example of why verifying information matters so much, especially in an age where a single broadcast error can look like world-changing news. And that wraps up today's report from Global Currency Insight, bringing you clarity on the mystery surrounding the Iraqi dinar broadcast.